Good morning, everyone. Welcome to xah Talk Show. Today is June 14th, 2019, 5 o'clock p.m. California time. California, the sunny state. And today we have a purpose. Today's topic is going to be Emacs Lisp live coding demo plus tutorial, because when I'm coding it, I will also explain something about Emacs Lisp, so you can learn from it. Let me fix the title here. Let's see. I'm alive. Yes, that is correct. So let me fix the title. So xah Talk Show, and today's date, and live demo today. Okay. Okay. Let's put that here. Emacs live demo plus tutorial. Okay, copy that over here. Press the key, paste, and or single button operation. This is the utmost efficiency. Good morning, one guy watching. Good morning, say hi. And so let's get on with it. So on the left window, as you know, it lists all Emacs commands I call. Doesn't matter it's by meta X or by key. So okay, so Emacs live demo, that's right. So what we're gonna do is, okay, let's begin the topic. So I have a command called xah-copy-line-or-region. For example, suppose I want to copy this line. So I just press the key. It's already copied. You can see on the left window there is, I just called xah-copy-line-or-region, and the key I used is J on Vorak layout. I'm using a Vorak layout, and as usual, let me just show you. This is my keyboard. You see, this is the Vorak keyboard. It's a Kinesis Advantage 2, and it's an ergonomic keyboard. I have a review on my website. Just search for xah keyboard and you'll see it. And also, let's fix up this thing, this window, this window. Let's see, we don't want that thing. Okay, so okay, so that's good. So I have this command, xah-copy-line-or-region. Now let me show you something interesting. Okay, so something interesting. Suppose I want to copy these 3 lines. Okay, now I call xah-copy-line-or-region, and it moves the cursor to the next line, and I can call that command again and call it again. Now I paste. You see, it pastes all the lines. So this is very extremely convenient, and this is part of the feature of the xah-copy-line-or-region. There's another feature, that is, you do not have to make a selection first. Like normally, if you want to copy this line, for example, you make a selection first, then you copy, then you can paste. But you don't have to. For example, let's say I want to copy this line. Okay, I just call the command by a key, then I can paste it here. You see, so no need to make a selection. However, if you have a selection, it will copy the selection. You see, so that's a feature. And you can copy multiple lines. Copy, and paste multiple lines. So those are the features of xah-copy-line-or-region. Now let me show you the command. So I call describe function. Okay, copy that. Describe function, xah-copy-line-or-region, show it. Okay, so it says copy current line or text selection if there's one. When called repeatedly, append copy subsequent lines. So you see, when universal argument is called first, copy whole buffer. So for example, if I want to copy the entire buffer, I press Ctrl U first. Okay, then I call the command. Now it's copied the entire buffer. Now I open a new buffer, paste. You see, all 700 lines. It's copied. Now let's close that. So those are the features of xah-copy-line-or-region, and I have the code here. So in case if you want to use it, go to this URL, and you've got the code. This begin in 2010. The first one is the command. The other one is the another command, a variation. So you can go and use it. Now there is a problem though. There's a problem which is what we are going to do today. We are trying to fix. That is when you let's say when you copy, let's say when you copy these and the problem is that sometimes it will copy the same line twice. Let's see if I can duplicate it. Yeah, sometimes it copies twice. Now I have to remember how to duplicate it. It happens every few days to me. But what is the condition that happens? Let me see. Copy. Okay, I know. So we are going to duplicate the bug, which is it copied the same thing twice. So that basically let me show you. So there's a line here I copy. Okay, hold on a second. Let me just copy something else. So in case we get mixed up, so we don't get mixed up. So here the cursor is here. We copy the line, and actually let's start a new window. Hold on a second. So let's start a new window, new buffer, and there's another command. Let me show you. This command is this command is this show key or ring. So now basically when you call this command, it will create a new buffer and show all the history of copy and paste. You see, so you see we have here, this is the latest item. Then we have here, this is the previous item. Then we have some. Then we have this, and then we have this entire buffer. Remember we copied that. So this is long. Then we have this is quite long. Then we have other things I copied before. So close that. So that is another command you might find useful. So let me show you what is the command. Describe key, and this is the command. xah key or ring. So you can get the code at this URL. It's very useful command. And both of them are part of xah-fly keys. So if you use xah-fly keys, you have all these. So now let's go back. So what I'm going to show you is that we are going to duplicate, trying to reproduce the bug where a line is copied twice. Let me show you what that means. So I copy this line. So let's try again. So ABC, okay, ABC. I copy this line, then how do you reproduce that? Then I switch to Chrome, for example. Okay, now I switch back to Emacs. then I God, how do you duplicate the bug? I paste. Okay, so copy the line. I cannot duplicate the bug. What the problem? Copy the line, switch to Chrome, do something there, then get back to Emacs, then copy the line again. Now let's see what we have. Paste. No. What should happen is that I should get these. This happens to me sometimes. Like I would, when I paste, I would get the line repeated once. Okay, but we have problem reproducing the bug. Okay, how do you reproduce the bug? This happens usually when I want to go to when I do Twitter stuff. Copy the line, switch to Chrome, switch back to Emacs, copy again. Okay, now let's see what we have. Paste. That is it. So that is the problem. A, B, C, D, E, F. D, E, F. So let's try it again. Copy, switch to Chrome, switch back to Emacs, copy. Okay, that's not it. Good morning, base. Good morning, based. So we're trying to duplicate the bug. Let's try again. So base, are you using Emacs? You are an Emacs user, right? Or are you not? So let's see. Something. Let's make this line long. Okay. So sometimes I want to copy the line. Copy the line. Copy the line, switch to Chrome, switch back to Emacs, copy again, paste. Okay, I don't think this is a bug then. So we actually, I don't think it's a bug. You see, basically what happens is that, let me show you the code, xah-copy-line-or-region. Okay, so let's go to the code. Stuff like here's the source code. So let's look at that. Copy that, close it, make a new buffer, paste, and let's make xah emacs lisp mod. Okay. So here's the code. So what it does is that when you copy a line, okay, instead of trying to fix the bug, because now we cannot. I don't think it's a bug. Now thinking about it, it's likely it's not a bug. It's just the way it works. So instead of fixing the bug, let's just turn this to. I'm going to give you a walkthrough how this command works. So hopefully you can learn some emac lisp. Retaining the original purpose where you learn some emac lisp. So basics, I've dabbled in the basics of Emacs, but because I mainly do .NET work, I'm pretty tied to Visual Studio and VS Code. Cool. Okay, great. So I'm interested in Emacs. So yeah, VS Code, I heard it's very good. I really want to try it. Emacs has lots of problems. Mostly the community, the Free Software Foundation. The Emacs has a code problem. So but I've been in Emacs, living in Emacs for 20 years now, uh, and basically exactly 20 years, or living in Emacs 20 years every day, many hours, and so I've spent huge amount of investment in Emacs Lisp. I started coding Emacs Lisp in 2006, so that's 15 years. So so Emacs has lots of problems, code, and which basically it ends up, there's no progress. There's lots of inefficiencies. It's still pretty good, but depending on how you compare, how you judge. But it's got lots of problems and it's stagnating, and the user base is dwindling and dwindling. Of course, to us, many of us Emacs fans, we think, we perceive Emacs as, oh, the greatest thing that, more people are using. Actually, no, that's not true. Less and less people are using it. It's like steadily downhill since 20 years ago. uh, yeah, that's about right. Is basically less and less people using. And if you are a Emacs fan, if you are a typical Emacs user, you may not agree, but I don't think Emacs user base, the number of users is declining. Um, the essence of the Emacs idea is that essentially it's a, some people call it's a Lisp machine environment. Basically, what that means is that it's got this language, Lisp, in this case Emacs Lisp. That is the main thing. Basically, the whole Emacs is essentially a environment, or some people say operating system. It's an environment to run Lisp, and everything you do is actually it's everything you do, including moving cursor, it's actually all calling Lisp commands. For example, when I move cursor, it's actually calling backward word. And actually, when I type something here, it's actually calling insert character. You don't see it because in command log mod, when you call that command, it's suppressed. But let me show you just the example. Let me turn that back on so you can see. So the idea, basically what I'm saying is that everything is calling a Emacs Lisp command. I'm gonna show you that later. Okay, so Emacs is a Lisp environment. So the most important idea about Emacs is essentially it has a language, the programming language that is the foundation. That is actually the heart, the core of Emacs. Everything you do, including inserting characters, switching windows, whatever, anything anything happens in Emacs is because some Emacs Lisp function is running. And the way you interact with it is that because every key, this is another essential part of Emacs, is that every keystroke is gone through, is functional as a interface. Every keystroke, including like when you type something some when you type S, for example, any keystroke that is feed into Emacs, then Emacs determines what command should run for that key. So in the case when you press S, Emacs says we are going to run the command insert character. Then it inserts the character S. So everything. So let me get back to talking about the essence of Emacs. So let me say two things. One, fundamentally, it's a Lisp machine. Everything is running around. At the core, there's a language. The language that's running. The whole thing is an environment for the language. That's one thing. The second thing is that every keystroke is the interface of to users is that every keystroke is interpreted to into running a Lisp function or command. So that is the true thing about Emacs. That is kind of what makes it tremendously powerful. Now you might know, if you know Emacs, that Emacs was originally, the name Emacs stand for ed, editor. Let's see, Emacs. So it's editor. Maybe not editor. Something ed macro. It's not editor. It's something. But anyway, it's something macros. Editor macros. I think that's what it is. So let's look at Wikipedia. Okay, uh, you know that will give us the magnify, move it to the right so you can see it. So the original acronym for Emacs is, let's see, macro. Yeah, editor macros. That is the what Emacs originally stand for, editor macros. So you can see from this abbreviation that, you see, the whole thing about Emacs is just editor macros, meaning that key macros, meaning that the essence of Emacs is that you define what each key does. Each key becomes a macro. So that ties to what I'm saying. So Emacs is, first of all, a Lisp environment. The other thing is that it's a key macro system. For the entire thing, every key you press, including control something, minus something, it it's a macro. It runs a command, to do something. It may type other keys or whatever. It's an editor macros. So that's the two things about Emacs, the nature of Emacs, and what made it powerful. But this idea is not a very complicated idea. By the way, this idea came from history. It is not, someone, sit down and think, oh, what should an editor be? What should be the most powerful editor should be like? Then he decided, oh, let's do a language environment and keyboard macro. No, it's not like that. Things happen. Most things happen we see every day. It's from history. So Emacs became this way is because originally it was, editor macro. It was a set of macros people started to do for the editor at the time. What's the editor called? Teco. Yeah, Teco is the editor. So it's basically just a collection of convenient macros, keyboard macros that people start to collect and bigger and bigger. Then people try to make it consistent, refine it. Eventually, that is what Emacs is. So that's the history of Emacs. It's this idea. But okay, so let's get back to. So what I'm saying is that Emacs is these two things: a Lisp environment and key macros. This is a great idea, but now this idea came from history. It's from for historical reasons. It's that way, but this turns out to be a great idea, and this idea is not very complex. As you can see, it's pretty simple. You just have keyboard macros. You have a Lisp environment, then you have keyboard macros as an interface. You have a language, programming language, and with keyboard macro as an interface to the language. So this is a very simple idea, and it's a great idea. So this idea, in my opinion, I think it can be duplicated in modern environment. For example, with JavaScript. So I don't think it's too hard. I think it's not a hard thing to do. So in the past decades, we've seen Atom editor, which is an editor, uh, it's almost like Emacs, because you can think of Atom editor is written in JavaScript, pure JavaScript, and then we have VS Code, which is Microsoft's version. It's an editor written entirely in JavaScript on top of the Google Chrome browser engine, V8. So Chromium, V8 is the JavaScript compiler. Chromium is the open source part of Google Chrome browser. So Chromium contains the V8. Chromium is like open source. Okay, so browser becomes so complicated and powerful today. So it becomes actually became a kind of a desktop widget system, GUI system, so you can write editors on top of browser. So when you start Atom editor or VS Code, whatever you see is actually just a browser. It's basically essentially a browser, but without all the browser specific features. But it is a browser running JavaScript. So, but the idea is like it basically you have JavaScript as a core language, and you know and as far as I know, you can also define keyboard macros. Of course, obviously, you can create your own shortcuts. So to me, I have always thought that maybe that is the modern idea of Emacs. So I've been wanting to look into them, but I never got to. I never spent much time into them. But looks like VS Code is very successful, and today extremely popular. So yeah, so I'm thinking maybe VS Code or Atom could be a possible replacement. But however, I haven't looked into myself, but I've seen some people I trust, some other Emacs users, David Capello, for example. Uh, sometimes you don't have time to do something yourself, but you can look up people you trust, what they say. It seems like that they it's not like that. It seems like although they are system based on JavaScript, similar idea to Emacs, but they don't really function that way. So it seems that they don't have the essence, the essential power like Emacs. So I don't know for sure. As people, as they say, when you want to know something, the only way is you have to do it yourself. Like I would have to spend days to actually see for myself whether VS Code or Atom editor can really function like Emacs. If it is the case, then we don't really need Emacs, because everything because if we assume Atom editor and VS Code has the same kind of nature as Emacs, namely a language environment plus a key interface to it, then it has the same nature as Emacs. Then you don't need Emacs. It has all the powers of Emacs and more. Why? Because we do realize that the JavaScript community is like what 100 times bigger than Emacs. The number of libraries, the number of people, the number of money resources going into JavaScript. 100 times no, 1,000 times no, 10,000 times yeah, maybe that is true. The resources put into JavaScript and the browser is 10,000 times more than Emacs. It's not a hyperbola. It's it's reality. Let's just say 1,000 times. So it's far bigger. Yeah, of course, but that's not what Emacs fans like to hear. Emacs, you want to believe whatever you believe, but that's just, that's some of the fact. The JavaScript community is really the resources, the number of libraries, the improvements to the language is 1,000 times larger than Emacs. So, so you know, so I'm thinking that is why I've been wanting to look into Atom and VS Code because if they have the nature of Emacs, then Emacs is really a gunner. But of course there are some other minor flaws and things, like social issues. For example, let's assume that VS Code truly has the same nature as Emacs, namely a language core with a key macro as interface. Let's assume that is true. But however, even if that is true, so in a technical sense, VS Code or Atom really is superior to Emacs by far. But however, there are some other problems not related to technology. For example, VS Code, Atom, the JavaScript, the Chromium browser, they are run by these greedy corporations, the billion dollar powerful corporations doing censorship or whatever they can to, get more money, even though they are open source. But you cannot ignore the background because they do things, and while meanwhile Emacs is run by this Richard Stallman guy. Okay, he's not a very good guy today, but anyway, he is known to be this nerd. He's not greedy. Let's say although he takes a lot of donations, for himself because he runs the GNU, the Free Software Foundation. He's comfortable, having he doesn't have to do anything. Money just come to him, and he sings, free software. His job is just to sing the song of free software, and to make sure that he will have money, to go to his pocket. He's not worried about you or other people. Anyway, Richard Stallman, but in any case, he's not a greedy guy. Although he's not there to lie or cheat your money, at least not intentionally or in an explicit way. So anyway, the point is that he's not these giant big corporations. So you can trust him. You can trust the Richard Stallman, even though he did many things bad as leaders of Emacs. But still, all things considered, compared to the whatever who is running Microsoft or Google these days, Richard Stallman is one you can trust much more. So it matters because then how do you know that VS Code or Atom Editor has backdoor to FBI, government? Government is another big entity. They have billions of dollars tax money from people. So they say, okay, one day they say, oh, Microsoft, we have concerns about security and things. So let me give you a deal. I sponsor you, $1 billion for some project, to help humanity. Let's say they talk to Google. We're gonna give you $1 billion to help, your Google search or whatever, or let you help us to create AI for military purposes. So you're gonna benefit because the military AI is $1 billion industry. We're gonna hire you, but you're gonna do us a favor. We want this Chromium code to change a little bit here and there. So then you got backdoor. And Chromium, JavaScript engine Chromium, how do you know? Very few people actually are able to look into this source code, millions of lines, you don't know. even if you are an open source or security fanatic these days, because technology grows exponentially, it's impossible for one person to know the million lines of all the things happening, plugging libraries, so you don't know. So back to the point. The point is that all these Atom VS Code, even though if they are technically superior than Emacs, but because they are run by corporations, and you cannot, you cannot trust it as much as Emacs. While Emacs is this little guy, clunky, lots of code problems, lots of these free software and open source fanatics, fuckheads. They believe uh, in fake news. They believe what they want to believe, which not reality. They have, it's a code, but still they are not these big corporations, so you can somewhat trust it more. So it will not, it will be much less likely, it's not likely that one day Emacs will contain some backdoor code, because when government tries to talk to Richard Stallman, I can trust Richard Stallman to, he would say no, this part at least I can trust. And lots of the, you guys, free software or open source fanatics, you will say, you will, you will cry out loud when you see any such thing. So this aspect is great. Yeah, that is why, uh, so you can trust Emacs. That is why, even if VS Code, Atom Editor are, like Emacs and technically superior, but because of the social issues, uh, there are also still good reasons to stick with Emacs. Yeah, that's my point about that. Uh, yeah, okay, so let's go back to talk about the. So there's one thing I want to show you before I mention that. Let me show you command log mod. So describe function command log mod. So here is the mod that I'm running that allows the commands to show on the left window. So we look at this code, and you can see, let me modify something here. You see this block of code. Okay, so so this block of code, you see, it does filter. It filters out certain commands you don't want to show on the window. So for example, I have filtered out self insert command. I filtered it out. Let's comment it out and eval the function. Now, if I type self insert, it should possibly show, for example, something. You see? Now, if I type something ABC on the left panel, you can see I'm calling self insert command 25 times. So that backs my point about how Emacs is a keyboard interface, key macro system. Any character, any key you type is bound to a lisp function or command. So so even when you are inserting something or pressing enter. Now, when I press enter, you don't see anything here because that command is also filtered out. You see this one, new line. So if I comment that line out, eval the function. Now when I press enter, you can see that new line, it says, you see. So this is the power of Emacs. Everything is in real time and interactive. You can edit the Lisp code in real time. You make a change, like right now. You make a change, you run it, and Emacs behaves differently, according to your change. So that is the power of Emacs. Okay, so that is about that. Let's let's leave that like that. Okay, so let's close this. And let's see, maybe we should explain this xah-copy-line-or-region code. Let's see how long I've been talking. 40 minutes. Maybe that's about it. So we got 5 people watching. So guys, so is that, should we stop, or should we, or do you guys want to listen to how, I explain some emacs lisp stuff, technical emacs lisp coding, because my XR talk show has been has been running longer and longer. Before it's like 40 minutes, and it becomes an hour a day, then 90 minutes, then 2 hours. Because every time it becomes nonstop, it's too long for people to watch. So today we talked about some the nature of Emacs. What makes it powerful. We talk about a little bit about Atom Editor and VSCode, how they compare, what it should be, and we talked about a little, things about my xah-copy-line-or-region command. So that, I would say, the main topic, the useful topic, is about the nature of Emacs. When you do a talk show, like when I do a talk show, I consider, or if you are writing a book or blog, there are certain content that is everywhere. For example, if I teach you about Emacs Lisp, that is not a new topic. Everyone, lots of people have, can teach you Emacs Lisp or Emacs. Okay. So in terms of human history, in terms of humanity, that is tried. Not anyone can do it. But however, when you write a book or blog or or video, certain content that is rather unique, that you don't see anywhere. For example, today I was talking about the nature of Emacs. Now, I was talking about how Emacs is, the core is a Lisp environment. Then the interface is a key macro system. That, of course, this is not a unique idea. Other people have said it too. But however, this part of the content is rather more unique. It's rare. And so, and what I want to say is that it tends to be, so if I teach Emacs Lisp, or if I teach Emacs, people love that. It tends, a lot of people will upvote it, will heart it, because it's useful, it's practical. People come to your show or your blog, they learn something they can use. But on the other hand, if you talk about this philosophical topic about nature of Emacs, few people are interested. I mean, you can tell by statistics, like the number of likes, this is rare, it's few. So this is interesting because this applies to books too, because the most useful common topic that gets you sales or money, like when you talk to a publisher, you plan to write a book, the type of content that sells is often the common, the tutorial about JavaScript tutorial, programming language, those kind of thing, common. You sell things, but no value, really of little value with respect to humanity. On the other hand, if you want to talk about unique opinions or ideas, such as, like, for example, philosophy of programming languages, philosophy of Emacs, this kind of thing, it doesn't sell. Nobody give a fuck. Nobody cares about your opinions, even if it is lots of wisdoms. Nobody care about those kind of things. But however, if you look at humanity, like history, like if you try to read 50 years ago what computer programmers are doing, you'll see a lot of programming tutorials. Those you don't care. Rather, the thing that interests you is the ideas about what they are doing. What's the philosophy. So this kind of thing becomes important with respect to human history. That is a thing. So when I'm doing my xah talk show, I have kind of this uh, conflict. I mean, this applies to every author, every blogger, such as yourself. You have this kind of conflict. On one hand, if you want clicks, you want popularity, you want people to like you, you know you write practical stuff like how do you delete a line, how do you copy a line, you do that. But if you want something that's really substantial to history or to humanity on the whole, as a whole, uh, you want to do something more unique, but you don't get, nobody read it. That is interesting. That is my thought about this interesting thing. This happens to book publishers because too, in lots of areas, because I've looked into uh, like you can do too. You can start a research, so-called research. If you are curious about, suppose you want to write a book. There are people, in book publishing or author communities. They talk about books, what to write, what happens when you talk to a publisher, what kind of topics sells, what kind of topic doesn't sell, and things like that. And I have read, I have read as part of my experience, looking at all different things that so publishers and author, that's a community. You have to look into different communities to know things, so they talk about things about that. So when you look, so apparently a lot authors, when they write a book, they talk to a publisher, they say, they think, oh, I have this idea that's new, I've never seen anywhere, I'm gonna write a book. But the publisher gonna tell you, no, we don't want that. Get out. We want you to write a book that everyone is writing a book about, that like there are already 10 books about it. We want you to write that because that sells. If you want to write a unique ideas about some human history, philosophy, the political situation, whatever, no, we don't want that. You don't get it because it don't sell. Even though, but if you look at the thing from historical, from human animal point of view, long term, those are actually more valuable topics. So when I'm doing my stuff, I'm conscious about I tend to xah talk show. This is my talk show. So when I talk about emacs this tutorial, that's not really important because there's a lot of other people can teach you emacs, emacs lisp coding or programming stuff. But the part, where some of my weird, like people like, sometimes people say they like to see my rant. When I get into a rant, things become interesting. So there are certain opinions or things that only I do because it's me. So there's this interesting thing. Uh, so much Dedan says, please continue. Okay, thank you. Do you May says, do you want to do do what you want to do? Okay, so okay, so I guess that's it for today because yeah, so 40 minutes, that's a good time to stop. So I was going to explain some of these emacs lisp code, but let me put a little plug. If you really want to learn emacs lisp, this written tutorial is very good. Just because they start from the beginning, They start from the beginning. You spend an hour or two. Start from the beginning. You read these first 7 articles in this block. emac emacs Lisp basics. That's how you'll get up very fast. On the other hand, not many people are actually emac Lisp coders. So if I explain this, I don't think there are many people are valuable to a lot of people. So okay, that's it for today. So that's it for today. Thank you guys for watching. uh, so I'm gonna shut down in 10 more seconds. You got 10 seconds to post last comments or question. Yeah, so then I'm going to get on with my life for today. I woke up about 4 hours ago, and then my life is about just working on my website, JavaScript, emac Lisp, update my websites. I have like by 20 years of blogging. I have like 7,000, 6,000 original articles that to maintain it's huge pain. Work every day stuff. Tree function. This is actually interesting. So actually, maybe I can digress. Yeah, but anyway. Okay, have a good day, guys. Bye.